DBR here. Welcome to Hamityville Horror. Thank you for visiting. I am Clint.
I'm Don.
And we're in a hotel room. That's because we're getting ready to go to Carolina Fear Fest real soon. But before we do that, we wanted to take a little bit of time and talk to the wonderful Bobby Heckman, who has decided to hang out with us for a little bit today. So I was gearing up for talking to you, and I was watching a couple things on YouTube, and I caught this video from It Crept from the 80s, where you and Mr. Chris Sievers were talking about the 35th anniversary of ALF, and you were listing some of your favorite TV series of the time. And I have to say that as a person who's pretty much in the same age range as you, I agreed with most of what you were saying. I wasn't so much of a Family Ties fan. I'd say I was more of a Growing Pains person myself, but but I was totally with you on Perfect Strangers.
TGI.
I enjoyed the antics of Balky Bartokomous from the Island of Meepos as much as anybody else. And
I'm sitting right next to my TV section.
So there it is.
TV section DVD. So it's easy for me to do that.
Did he mention Small Wonder?
No,
Small Wonder.
I gotta be honest, Small Wonder creeped me out.
Oh, absolutely.
That kid talking in that monotone voice all the
Pull that
time.
out next.
How about Benson?
Benson.
Benson.
But Alf was a pretty amazing show.
That was great.
And
Oh yeah.
and it wasn't until just a few years ago that I found out that that half the people in the cast hated being on the show.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was a nightmare dealing with the puppet antics of what had to be done for a normal sitcom.
Yeah, you were going deep into that, where they had to build like a 4-foot high, stage for the puppeteers to be under, and people were getting injured in the floors, and if they stepped
They were
wrong,
falling through.
So fucking dumb.
and it takes three times as long to record a show.
It's crazy. And the guy that was the puppeteer for Alf never wanted, he wanted Alf to be treated as like a real being. So like the cast and crew and stuff like that would never see Alf until he came up and delivered his lines. And it's just a weird, bizarre thing.
That is really fucking weird.
Yeah. Imagine if it was a Friday 13th movie and nobody had any interaction with the guy playing Jason until he shows up,
At least Fraggle Rock, you had the Fraggles. They were just there because Jim Henson was doing them, but that's another good ass show. So
yes.
Speaking of good ass shows / movies, your poster behind you, Victim No More.
Oh, I thought you meant Death Wish 3.
We can go with Death Wish 3. I mean, Charles Bronson, it's a classic. I think that's the best one out of them.
Oh, it's my favorite.
We're gonna go.
Well, technically, the best one is the first Death Wish, but the third one is the most enjoyable. Cartoonish.
They flipped them, then wasn't Death Wish 1 was Death Wish 2 and vice versa, wasn't it? And how they did it?
No, that's the Missing in Action movies.
That's it. Yeah, I knew one of them. I was like, somebody's shit got screwed up.
Yeah,
but no, we don't have to go. We don't have to go right into it. We can.
Chuck Norris movies don't make a lot of sense.
Chuck Norris movies don't. He just fucking got a fist in his beard and punches people. And that's all. That matters.
Just a reason to kick people in the face.
So, all right. So we'll pull back a little bit. So I guess one thing that I love about you is that every time you seem to hang out with the cool kids, Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelly Maroney. It's always fun. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with them, how you've kind of kept up with them, over the years, and how much fun are they really?
They're amazing. Kathy is Catherine Mary Stewart, aka Kathy.
We call her CMS.
CMS, yeah, that's what I like to call her too. We've been friends for about 10 years now. How did I come? I met her at a convention where they were doing the last Starfighter reunion. Lance Guess and Nick Castle were there, and we just really hit it off, just talking, and then we would keep in touch with Facebook and stuff. And I have no idea how I became friends with them. Trying to think. Oh, we both live in New York.
Okay.
Catherine lives in Manhattan. I live on Long Island. So out of nowhere, I believe she invited me to an interview she was having in the city somewhere. So I said, yeah, sure, because I was going to go and, hang out with another friend anyway. So I hung out with her in the city. We just have a lot of laughs and fun together. And then just throughout the years, we became closer and closer. And, we just have a great time together. Kelly, I'm not as close with. I only kind of met her a few years ago, 2017 at Chiller Theater. And we all had dinner together, including my wife. And, we all had a big dinner together and had a good time. And yeah, I guess the last show that I was just at, the New Jersey HorrorCon, yeah, we've grown a little bit closer, but nothing like me and Catherine.
What about Amy? You and Amy are pretty close, aren't you?
And me and Amy Steele are pretty close too. I've known Amy for a really long time. Actually, I met Amy originally at the very first convention she did. Wow. Back in 2004, and that was Chiller Theater, where she had no idea how huge Friday 13th had gotten, and the fandom and everything. So it was funny. I remember seeing her come through the door. She came in late. She didn't know where to go, and I was her very first autograph that she had to sign at a convention. So it's nice to have that kind of history.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it was funny because she had no idea what to do at that time. I think autographs were like $10 each. So she was just like, I don't have any markers. I don't know what I don't have any 8x10s. Like, she was just like, spastic, and it was just funny. But she definitely doesn't remember that experience. It was years later, probably about 13 years ago, something like that, that out of nowhere, she wanted to leave Monster Mania convention a little earlier than waiting for like the transportation to bring it to the airport. So she just like came up to me out of nowhere and just like, hey, can you ride me to the airport? So now we have this ongoing joke that like I'm always her chauffeur at a convention, and I have to drive her around everywhere. But in that car ride there, we hit it off, and it was memorable, and we just stayed in touch over the years. And I help her out at conventions. Same with Catherine. I help her out at conventions, and I'm just a friend like that. But we hang out outside of conventions too, so yeah, I don't know how these things happen. My friends are always like, how come every time we leave a convention you have a new like celeb buddy?
Yeah.
Hey, fucking take it, man. Take it.
Yeah.
I wish.
And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of grounded and down to earth, and I'm a huge fan, of course, of all these things that they're in, and I grew up watching them just as you guys did. But like, we just find this connection that, I could talk about other things, instead of Friday 13th and Last Starfighter and shit, Yeah. I just, we just hit it off, and we became friends throughout the years.
That's awesome.
Same with Jill Whitlow.
Yes.
From Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps, yep.
That's one of your favorites, right?
Night of the Creeps is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and Jill I'm very close to, and eventually I wound up like repping her at conventions. But I rep a couple of people, but I kind of put that aside now for like the last few weeks. I decided I don't want anything to do with repping anymore, or managing, or setting up people at shows anymore. I mean, I just recently set up, I'm friends with Kimberly Beck, Trish from Part 4, Friday.
Oh,
I've been
she's a
friends with
rarity
her.
too. She's a rarity to show up at cons.
She's very, very rare. I the last time I booked her at a show was 2016, and it was Scarefest in Kentucky. And we had an amazing time. She had a blast. We had such a great time. But in the last like 6 years, she's been super busy.
Yeah.
Her husband's a big time producer, and she's got other things going on. She's always on the move and doing things. So every year, at the beginning of every year, I would be like, "You want to do a few conventions this year?" And she's like, "I'm not sure. I'm so busy, blah, blah, blah." And, you know, and then conventions would keep like reaching out to me to book her, like Chiller and other conventions, like big conventions.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have to turn them down because she's too wrapped up in her life.
Yeah.
But finally, just recently, we got to book that Creature Feature Weekend.
Yeah.
In Gettysburg, PA, and I'm really excited about that.
Well,
She's excited about it, and
when's that going to be?
Because I love that convention because it's like it's a low key, kind of homey, family like convention.
Over
Not
at the
a
Wyndham.
crazy
I'm like
big-
25 minutes away from it.
Well, I hope to see you there.
I
Holy
will.
shit.
I will go.
Her and Rod, the guy that plays Rod's going to be there
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
He's the same way. He's a recluse too.
Yeah.
You better come
It's
because
the same convention, right?
which one?
I
Creature
think
Feature
so.
Weekend?
It's got Trish and it's got the guy that played Rod too, right?
Rob, yeah, Eric Anderson.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we need to go to that.
Yeah, he's got this great, the organizer, Craig, he's got this great like couples thing, you know, like they're like the couple in that. And then he's got,
when is that? That's coming up soon, isn't it?
it's coming out the end of August 26th weekend or 27th weekend, whatever, that weekend.
Well, the best thing is we're going to get to meet this cat at Mahoning Drive-In when we come and see four
both of you
amazing
coming?
movies.
Yeah, we're
Both
going.
of
Yeah.
you will be there?
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
be there. Yeah,
Awesome.
in June.
We gotta
Awesome.
bring you your Friday the 13th box set
That I won.
that you won. Yes, that you were one of 3 people, and I looked at Clint and I said, "Fuck it, we're giving it to Bobby."
Yeah.
I really apprate it, but
he probably
feel-
already owns it.
Probably.
you don't have to. You can keep it. You know, I just I feel super bad about that. You know,
He's here. See, he already owns it. He's gonna be like, "See, look, I have it right here."
I do already own it, but man, I would love another one.
Whatever.
Yeah. Hey,
You can
rules
have
are
it.
rules, man. Rules are rules.
Ah, come on, man. We'll discuss that at the drive-in. All right.
All right,
We'll
sounds good to me.
talk about them when you guys are taking pictures with Catherine and Kelly.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you're a regular guy with a regular job for the most part. I mean,
Yes.
but you also like work in film. I mean, how far back does that go for you?
It goes back to, I mean, I have the typical story of, you know, as a kid, I was obsessed with movies, got a video camera at a young age. When I was a teenager, I started making movies with my friends in the backyard movies, as we call them, you know. We would make Child's Play 7, you know, and
I want to see that.
which is funny because like it took so many years, and now Cult of Chucky is actually Child's Play 7.
Play
It's
7.
like, oh, they finally
Yeah.
got the movie that I made back in '91, you know. But not the same plot at all. But then
But it's better.
getting out of my teenage years and out of that time, in around 2000, I hooked up with this friend of mine. His name's Rob, and we created Ramsteer Films, and we did a number of short films that we would sell at conventions, and we were and that was about 5 years worth of short films. And you know, and we had like our little fans and out there, and yeah, we had fun doing them. And just as we were keying up to do our first feature-length film, everything fell apart. You know, just life happened, jobs happened, he got married, you know, like, and we were still kind of hanging on to the idea of making more movies.
Mhm.
This was like the mid 2000s, 2006, 2007. And then I just took a massive break from it. I got myself a good state job with retirement and everything. And, but then a few years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to regret it the rest of my life if I don't make a film. So let me do this, get it out of my system. You can call me a filmmaker, but I'm not a filmmaker in the sense of I'm looking to climb the ladder, make bigger movies,
Mhm.
get different projects, get on different projects, and kind
You
of
just
work
want to
my
have that
way.
under your belt because 99% of the people that are out there don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not looking to succeed at it. I'm just looking because I'm passionate about movies and everything. I still treat it as a hobby. And I always feel like you should always treat something as a hobby, not expect success out of it, because you might be disappointed when you're not in that 1% that like really succeeds,
Yeah.
So
you
but
never
yeah.
really filmed these short films with the intention of putting them on like a festival circuit or anything like that, or
Eventually, yeah, it was leading in that direction. And we'd have it screening at different conventions and things like that.
Mhm.
But my partnership kind of fell apart, and I decided to take a break from it. And I focused more on writing. I wrote so many screenplays in the last 10-15 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I just with the hope that maybe one day I'll make one of these. It's funny though, because you guys had an episode about anthology movies.
Yeah.
And I watched that episode, and it was great because for years I was planning on making a horror anthology movie, like Creepshow or something like that.
Sure.
And for years I was planning on doing that. I was like going to raise money for it and do that. I love anthology movies. I think they're so much fun. And even if like one story sucked, like the other 3 or 4 were good, or you always found something that was like enjoyable about it. You mentioned a couple of good ones in that episode, and I'm glad you mentioned the Amicus movies, because I only in the last few years, 2 movies, the last 2 years, I started watching a bunch of those. Like I always liked Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. There was another one in there.
Yeah, I know we talked about Cat's Eye, and we talked about
Cat's Eye is great.
Tales from the Dark Side.
Tales from the Dark Side movie I love. I have a poster of that in my bathroom.
Yeah. Was that the one that had a Romero short in it? Or is
I'm not sure. I know
I
he was
can't
involved in
remember now.
Creepshow a lot.
Oh,
so I know Romero
yeah,
was on
Creepshow.
Yeah, the original Tales from the Dark Side movie was supposed to be Creepshow 3.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the success of Tales from the Dark Side TV show, they just made it Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Sure.
I think Romero wrote all of them.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I think
Anthologies are great because, like you said, you can have
one that's not
one
good.
that's not good, but when you get 4 that are bangers, I mean, and they're I'm not saying they're any easier to make than a full length film, but it makes it a little bit easier when you can kind of separate into pieces, because then you have other people that are responsible for their segments. That's how a lot of them work is hey, you got a writer and director for this segment, and then you got a writer and director for this one. So it's like, okay, I know what I did. I know whether mine's good or bad. So if yours sucks, that's on you, bro, not me.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you guys mentioned this on the episode. I can't remember. Did the Mortuary Collection?
On
It was
Shudder.
on Shudder.
Yep.
It was good. I really enjoyed that one.
Brown, man. Clancy Brown was great in that.
Oh, Clancy Brown's awesome. I was just watching special features on something with Clancy Brown, and he just seems like the coolest guy in the world. Maybe I should be friends with him next.
Yeah,
go look him up.
Find his
Be
ass.
real down to earth and offer him a ride to the airport.
Yeah, man.
Maybe, I'll bring him to the
Make
airport.
friends with Mr. Krabs.
Go out to dinner. Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Yeah, they are
Um,
pretty cool. I'd be interested in seeing an anthology. I mean, hearing what some of those ideas are. I know you probably don't want to
yeah,
talk
oh
about
my God. I had a great one for years. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's completely dead, but, and it was an interesting idea. It started off with a writer that goes up to his cabin up in the mountains, and a hitman comes to kill him because the writer's boss thought he was sleeping with his wife, so he sent a hitman after him. But the hitman is more interested in like getting into Hollywood and like stealing his screenplays. He's eventually gonna try to kill him, but he wants to like take his work.
That sounds fucking cool though.
So like he would go through the scripts and we'd enter the stories. The hitman is going through the stories before he kills him, and you know, we'd cut
So
back and forth from
That's
the
cool.
stories. to that.
Hitman's the wraparound. That's cool.
The hitman is the wraparound, yeah.
That's
Um, yeah, there was a killer pizza delivery boy segment,
See, that's awesome.
which is a story that I've had for like 25 years. I'm like, why haven't they made the pizza killer, you know, pizza delivery boy killer yet?
That needs to happen.
Yeah. And my favorite one was, and I thought of the sense of like how a lot of anthologies are. There's always like a slasher episode. There's like one supernatural one, and then there's like a creature one. So I kind of like went along that pattern. And I don't know. The idea is still not dead.
Cool.
But,
Yeah, damn right. Those are cool.
Yeah. So, so you decided to go in a different direction. You made the decision to go after a Friday the 13th fan film. And I was just curious, with all these other ideas, what made you decide on that one?
I guess it really begins with, I mean, my love for the Friday the 13th franchise. It's my favorite franchise. I obsess over it. My friends and I, every year, we have marathons of the movies. It brought together a lot of friendships in my life through that series, including Kimberly Beck and Amy Steele. But it wasn't until really that I saw Never Hike Alone. And I see you guys
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw the production value of that and what Vin did, like, I was just like, oh man, like I'm just as big of a fan as Vin. Like, maybe I should be doing this too, or like or throw in my take on it. You know, everybody has their own take as fans of like the Friday 13th series and what they could do and where it can go, and you know, I mean, it's endless possibilities for that franchise when there's, you know, 12 movies. You can go in any direction. So it was really seeing the quality of Never Hike Alone that I was like, you know what? With the connections that I have and the people that I know, and I have a lot of good friends that are good actors and people, I know I have a lot of support that would help me like get to a budget that I would think is good. You know, to make this a reality. So I said, all right, let me just try it. Let me go for this. Let me try to do this. And it was coming to a point too where my wife and I, we were gonna like start saving for a place, you know, a more permanent place to live and all that. And, you know, I was just like, well, let me do this now while, you know, I can. And make it a short film, you know, because I really agree with the way Vin handled Never Hike Alone. Right. Whereas he kept it like short, tight, and sweet, you know, like, and the quality of the production, like, you know, with the money that he had. I would give anything to have what he's making on the sequel now, over $150,000. I'm like, you know what I could do with $150,000?
Right.
Please. I was just looking for like 13 grand.
I was going to
From
ask, what was your goal?
The goal was 13 grand. I was thinking 13. I was trying to figure out everything, looking at the script and the production and the people that I knew were places that we could shoot that would be pretty much free to shoot at.
Yeah.
And I kept the story really simple and everything, but well, simple in my mind. Everybody else that read it was just like, this movie's pretty big in the ideas. I was like, is it? I don't know. Okay, you say so.
Oh, they felt it was ambitious?
I definitely what?
Did they feel it was ambitious?
Yeah, they felt it was very ambitious, and I didn't want to have such an ambitious idea for a story without backing that up with a budget to make it look as good.
Yeah.
So I definitely made the 13 grand through Indiegogo, but I realized it was going to cost a lot more to complete it. So it's really more like 30 grand when it comes all said and done.
Yeah.
And it's a short film still. It'll probably be 40 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You still at least the quality will show. And to me, it doesn't matter how long or short it is, but like as long as the quality's there and people see that.
That's what we say. That's what we say all the time.
We've seen great movies that have been 7 minutes long. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a full feature length film to be really enjoyable and great. I mean, Never Hike Alone is what, 30 minutes or something 30, like that?
34 minutes.
Yeah, and the Never Hike in the Snow is like 20 minutes, and that's done pretty well too. So my only beef with Never Hike Alone 2 that they're making.
Yeah.
How it's supposed to be and this is just a fan thing. Like every fan is going to have their own opinion because we love the Friday 13th series so much. We're the pickiest motherfuckers around, like we're just, we're just like, true. Yeah. It's like everybody has their favorite Jason look or, oh, you like that look? That look sucks. I like the Kane Hodder look, whatever, that look sucks. And everybody's picky with everything. And even when you're watching all these fan films, the fanboy in you is just like, well, I would have went this way, or why did they make that choice? That's an interesting choice. It's kind of weird, but okay. But like, so my thing is like, all right, it's Never Hike Alone 2 is the final chapter of this like little trilogy that Vin made. Because I love trilogies, and it's called Never Hike Alone 2, it just bugs me. It's just like, why not just call it Never Hike Again and just have it, I don't know. That's just me.
And then
I just hate ending a trilogy with
Never Hike Alone Ever Again would have been the third one.
Never Hike Alone Ever Again. But I'm really looking forward to it. And that budget, we're probably, if it's not going to be the best fan film we've seen so far, I'd be surprised, yeah, just recently, and I gotta say, I enjoy watching all the fan films, like whether good, bad, mediocre, whatever, especially with a group of friends. I enjoy every single one of them. I respect every single one of them. Vin, Peter Anthony's, like that. It's so much fun to watch all these movies. But yeah, I always like, I have my little nitpicks too. And I can't wait to hear the backlash on my film, like, they're going to have nitpicks galore, and I'm going to have to take each and every one of it. I know Peter Anthony's had a lot of backlash on a bunch of his films, and I'm just like, whatever. He still made a movie, and you got to respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, first off, respect that. And I don't know why we get a ton of backlash, because for me, it's like, it seems like it was, just what you're doing, like a fan film written by a fan, where you care about the timeline and you care about, preserving the continuity of the film and being at whatever whatever place in the timeline that you are, and then drawing inspiration from the things that were happening around that time. You know,
Right.
like they took a lot of great care to make sure they didn't screw that up when they wrote their script, you know, which I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Bobby mentioned earlier, you got the picky motherfuckers out there. I mean, they nitpick everything, and I mean, I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm kind of with you. Like I can marathon Friday 13th like it's going out of style, you know. But
Right.
you know, with these fan films, it kind of falls under, you know, another category, and you kind of think, you know, are these better than some of these Hollywood treatments that it got? And you know, you start to really you know, put it under a microscope, and some of them can be compared to that. I mean, you know, you look at, you know, part 8 and part 9, which I mean, I love part 8 without a doubt. It's just a fun movie. But, you know, as far as like production and everything like that, I mean, some of these fan films blow part 8 out of the water just because you can tell that the people that they had involved cared. Whereas like part 8, it was kind of like, maybe you had like 1 or 2 people that gave a shit, but the fan films, everybody gives a shit.
Yeah, let's talk about part 8 for a moment.
Okay, let's
talk about Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, personally, it's my least favorite Friday 13th movie, but I absolutely love it. Go figure.
The funnest.
I watch it every marathon. I watch it every year. I definitely have nostalgic connections to it. Because it was the one and only time my mom and I snuck into a movie theater to watch.
There you go.
So it's like, I got a lot of heart towards that movie. But like, I mean, I don't really ever knock it. I mean, every time I watch it, I'm like, why is he fucking teleporting everywhere? I'm like, you know, like, you know, like
what's the worst part of the movie?
Yeah, it's just weird, and like, and Rennie, like seeing boy Jason as a normal Jason, then he like mutates more towards the movie, and like in a way, it's kind of a cool supernatural element to it. But you know, they're kind of like trying to like bite off the Nightmare on Elm Street ideas.
That movie is fucking weird.
Yeah, it's like an acid trip or something.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. And then like, and then you know, the fanboy in me is nitpicky about like how the movie begins, and I'm like, where the fuck did he get leather gloves from? He was all bony hand in the last movie, you know, like. So like, you know, like what happened here? You know, like, but you know, and you've heard it in a million behind the scenes things where it's like, well, every film has their own special effects artists, so they put their own little touch on it.
Well, goddamn,
and the rolled up sleeves. What's up with the rolled up sleeves? You know, like
continuity is a big thing. Sorry, boys, but shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm glad, you know, with all my least favorite Friday 13th movies, I'm glad they all exist in the pantheon of Friday 13th movies and lore, because it makes for conversation. It's somebody's favorite movie because that was their introduction to a Friday 13th movie. So they have that special connection to it. So like, I'm glad all 12 exist, and like everybody has their own experiences. I said it, you know, many times that it's the only franchise where you ask somebody's top 5 Friday 13th movies, you're going to get completely different answers.
Every time.
That's true.
Every time. Like it's so much different than like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, it's always like, 1 in 3, and Halloween is always like 1 in 4, and you know, like, you know, it's like it's always like similar. But Friday 13th, it's like, my favorite is Jason Goes to Hell, and then you know, it's like it's all over that person. You know, it's just crazy how different, and it's multi-generational now. So it's like, you know, people are getting exposed to it in different ways. You know, so it's very interesting. I like to say it falls into the category of like Godzilla movies and James Bond movies. You know, like there's somebody's favorite Bond, somebody's favorite Jason, somebody's favorite Final Girl, somebody's favorite Bond girl, favorite look of Godzilla. You know, it's like it falls into there, and I love it all. You know,
see, he's right on that too, because like with part 7 and part 8, they they were the ones that got shown on USA. USA always had part 7 and then part 8. So like I got exposed to both of those. You know, I never got to really see like part 6 or part 5 just because they weren't showing them. You know, once AMC would start doing their Halloween thing or the Friday the 13th marathon, I got to see them all. But yeah, 7 and 8 kind of, you know, hit home too, because those are the ones that I got to see the most of. You know, when you get to see, you know, Jason on a, you know, Up All Night on USA, it's like, oh shit, I'm this is taboo. I'm watching a Friday the 13th at midnight. And it's like, you know, it's a cool feeling to have, because again, you know, you grew up with it, and everybody has a different take on it.
Yeah. What's your favorite ones from both of you?
I like 6.
I'm a 2 guy.
2's good too.
Well, those are 2 of my top 3. So
I love
4, 6, 2.
Yep,
4, 6, 2 is my top
that's
3.
usually how it goes with who we do talk to. It's usually 4, 6, 2.
But when I was a kid and a teenager, part 6 was my number 1. Somewhere in my 20s, I was like, 4 and 6, neck and neck. I don't know. So
yeah, when I was
4,
younger,
6, 2.
I was a part 5, but that was one of the
because of
first
all the
ones that I
movies?
saw,
I
so
like part 5. Part 5's a
Yeah.
fun ass movie. That's
part
a fun.
5's fun. A lot of people hate on it, but I
No,
love
it's
it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
Come on.
movie. No, I
Some
like
damn
it.
enchiladas.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, you got
exactly.
Miguel Nunez is in there. Shit. You got Pam.
Put Miguel Nunez in anything, it makes it immediately great.
Return of the Living Dead.
As far as
Return of the Living
I'm
Dead.
concerned.
Yes, yeah, you're right. You're right.
I like how part 5 is like a whodunit, you know, like it's
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. It was a different take. It was like, oh shit, it's not just Jason. Like it might be Tommy because he's a fucking lunatic.
yeah. And I realized this recently, because I've been listening to the soundtracks a lot. I didn't realize that there's tracks in the part 5 soundtrack where it's not ki 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 ma ma ma. It's ta 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 me 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 me. Like it's saying Tommy. Yeah, like it's very subtle, but there's a few tracks in there where you're meant to think like either Jason is talking to Tommy when he's like hallucinating and flipping out, and you hear the so it's kind of cool. And yeah, there's a point in it where you might think, if you've never seen the movie before, which, you know, people our age, of course, we've seen it.
That's
But-
almost like
People our age.
it's almost like they were trying to subliminally tell the audience to focus on Tommy. That's
Focus
pretty
on
cool.
Tommy and that he may be the killer. Yeah.
Well, that's what sucks about. That's my only gripe about 6 is that, you know, he goes from being, you know, where Corey Feldman just absolutely destroys him once he starts twitching, and then, you know, John Shepard plays him in the 5th one, and he's just like, you know, crazy as shit. But then like Tom Matthews comes in, and it's like now he's all of a sudden like normal.
Well, he's got his shit together after all those years, you know.
Yeah.
He got through the trauma a little bit.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, but it was cool to see like I love his character in 6, and you know I hate the fact that Arnold Horshack gets killed in like the first 15 minutes of the goddamn movie, but it was an amazing kill.
Yes, tearing his heart out, seeing how powerful Jason can be,
Yep.
being zombie Jason.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I was-
thank God Tommy did that, because we wouldn't get all the movies after that.
that's right.
Very true.
And I did think it was cool how in that one they kind of did like a universal monster thing. They did kind of like a Frankenstein lightning bolt.
I
Jason
love
comes back to life. That was so cool.
It looks
I
like the
loved
mummy,
it.
too, when he
It's-
gets out of the grave. It's like he looks like the fucking mummy.
Yeah, I mean, the Frankenstein movies and stuff are like my favorite old school horror character. So, I mean, putting those two together like that, I was just in heaven.
Well, it's funny is that's how a lot of them go. You know, Michael Myers, Jason. You know that Frankenstein mentality is there. You can always pull it back to, you know, the universal monster with Frankenstein. It's like it's an unstoppable juggernaut, and
Right.
it's really cool that it still keeps getting brought back to that. You know, the old 1950s, 60s. It's great.
Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I could talk about this stuff forever.
Good. You got to give us an exclusive. You got to give us something exclusive
Oh, here we
about
go.
your Friday fan film that you haven't told anybody else?
Oh, I love that. Well, just yesterday we edited a death scene. So yes, there will be death in it.
Shocker.
Wow.
What's a Friday 13th movie without some death? But we
That's my teaser. Oh, bitch.
that's your teaser. There's death in it. Oh, and there's woods.
It's like,
shit.
oh, I haven't told anybody else that because everybody else figured that shit out.
It's unique.
And Jason may make an appearance.
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
I'm gonna kill him.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but the death scene that we put together yesterday, which turned out really well, is a death scene that I have been wanting for over 20 years.
Ooh.
Like in a Friday 13th movie. And in 2001, I wrote, just for shits and giggles, I didn't think I was going to do anything with it. But like I said, I was writing a lot of scripts in the last 20 years. But 2001, I wrote a Jason versus Michael script. Which I still have somewhere. But I wrote this particular death scene in the movie. It hasn't been used in any fan film, any Friday 13th movie, any Halloween movie. And I'm hoping, a fan film that I'm always like watching every single fan film that's being released, being like, please don't use my ideas. Please don't use my ideas, because great minds are going to think alike, right? Sometimes I don't know,
Always.
or I shouldn't say great minds. I should say fan minds think alike.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited for the world to see this death scene, which I think everybody will get a kick out of. So, and just a side note, which is really funny about the Jason versus Michael script. The movie ended with a big fight scene on the docks at Camp Crystal Lake, where they just hacked the shit out of each other.
Like Freddy versus Jason.
Sound familiar? So when I was watching Freddy versus Jason 2 years later, I'm watching it going, ah. This is exactly how Michael versus Jason ended. Them, chopping each other's arms off, and like, I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, but giving the audience what they want,
Right, yeah,
That's right.
And that's an enjoyable movie too. That's just a fun movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love Freddy versus Jason. It was one of those only films that I saw back to back in the same day when it was released. Like, I saw it, went back out to the ticket thing, got the ticket for the next show. 2 different friends showed up for that showing and got to experience it all over again.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
It was awesome. It was an event, for
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But getting back to Victim No More. What can I say? Things that are, that I wanted to be, that are different with this. Well, first off, I'm tired of the term fan film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I want to call it a tribute film. So
Okay.
that's
I
got a
keep-
better ring to it.
I keep saying, because it truly is a tribute film. Like, if you look up the definition of tribute, it's paying respect and, admiration towards a thing. So I'm never going to post it as Friday 13th, a fan film. I did in the beginning, but I started changing everywhere online to tribute film.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I really do pay tribute to basically all 12 films in this one movie. I mean, not in your face, but like subtly,
Easter
in
eggs.
different ways. Definitely little Easter eggs. I'm more into like the subtle, obscure references that hardcore fans will get, instead of like the in your face ones, like, which I've seen a lot of fan films do. And again, all the respect to them for doing that, because fans seem to love that. But I'm not a big fan of this guy is saying that line from the Friday the 13th movie that you love, like what's his name? Rick in Never Hike in the Snow saying "you bang," it's like, all right.
Make them.
I'm like,
make them earn it. Make them work for it.
I'm like, yeah, I get it. You're saying that line from that movie that I love. Yeah, I get it. I'm just not it doesn't do anything for me. Or repeating the legend 25 times during a fan film. I'm just like, yeah, I'm one of the fans that I know the legend.
I've heard it. I know it. I can.
Yeah, can we move on with the story? I know the characters in the movie got to tell each other it, but
yeah.
So, and that's again the fanboy picky thing,
Right.
So the things that I was like really picky about as far as like modern horror or doing a modern day Friday the 13th movie is there were things that I didn't want to do. So this is kind of spoiling things to come in the film, but like I never wanted to write the line, "Oh, my phone doesn't have any service."
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're in New Jersey. Fuck that. Everybody has good cell phone service.
True story.
I never wanted to write that. I'm just like, I don't care. Everybody's phone works. Anybody can call the cops at any time.
Right.
Phones are good. There's a scene with a guy walking around the old campgrounds. He's looking up, comparing old photos to see if, this is the right cabin, blah, blah, blah. We got Google. We're good.
See, that's cool. That's cooler than no service because it doesn't matter at that point. Like you can call the cops. How much good is it going to do you?
Right.
Yeah, it's just one of those like horror movie things, like modern day horror movie things that I get tired of hearing. Like, they did that in the last like Wrong Turn movie, I think. Again, like, oh, I got no phone service, and I'm like, I understand that, because you're in the middle of West Virginia and like, yeah you're probably not going to have phone service. Like realistic, you're probably not going to have phone service. I just don't want to hear that line. Right. So again, silly pickiness things that bother me. There's that. I kind of made a list of like just things I personally would like to see in a Friday the 13th film.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really came back to trying to get the feel of the old Friday the 13th movies. I'm lucky enough to live in the tri-state area where like the first two movies were filmed, like New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, like New York, like that look, like the woods are very specifically East Coast woods, so it's like, I'm lucky to be here to make a movie in these woods because they look like the first two movies, like as opposed to like Never Hike Alone, which already, I love Never Hike Alone. But when you see those like drone shots and everything, you're like, yo, these are California mountains. It's like this is not Camp Crystal Lake to me.
Right. But
it looks beautiful. So I'm going to forget that and enjoy the story to come, But, so I really wanted to stick true to the look and feel of the early Friday the 13th movies. I mean, it's still going to be a modern day, using 4K cameras and stuff like that. It's still going to like look like made the movie today. Yeah. But like, I just mean the overall feel of how we shot it. Mm-hmm. We did it very like low key, grounded, kind of simple photography, like those old Friday the 13th movies did. The first 6 or 7 movies were very like, yo, we're shooting this thing, very straightforward, there's no shaky cam business, and big fight scenes and stuff. There's I know every Friday the 13th fan film now has to have like drone shots, and I'm like, I'm not paying extra for a drone shot when there's in 12 movies, I've never seen a helicopter shot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
in a Friday 13th movie. I want to make it as close to a feel of a Friday 13th movie as I possibly can. Again, no respect to those drone shots are beautiful in those fan films.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They just don't. They're just
Um,
not needed.
Yeah, it just, you know, it's I get why, because it makes it look like a big time production, you know. And like a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, we keep it 16:9, 185 aspect ratio, you know, there's, you know, what, part 3, is it part 3, Freddy versus Jason and the reboot are 235
Mhm.
widescreen. But basically I want to make it feel like the first like 7, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all like that aspect. And that's another thing too, like when it comes to what kind of director I would like to be and who inspired me to make films, it's John Carpenter and George Romero.
Right.
Those are my top 2 guys. I would like every movie I make to look like a John Carpenter movie.
Mhm.
But because of my love for the Friday 13th series, I realized, well, I'm not going to put my style, which would rip off John Carpenter shots, and put it in a Friday 13th movie. I want Friday 13th movie to be like a Friday 13th movie.
Right.
So I had to put that part of myself aside, you know. So I don't know. I'm trying to think what else.
No, it makes. I mean, everything you said thus far makes total sense. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to keep it true to the film. I mean, you know, and again, like you said, I appreciate and respect what people have done with it. I mean, everybody has their own twist and spin on it, but you know, at the same time, you know, if you can keep it true, you can keep it, you know, in line with what happens, do it.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. One thing I'm not a big fan of is the ignoring any of the mythology that's already been put out there. Especially like we said, like, you know, there might be massive fans of part 8, but if you're ignoring that to tell the story of what happens after one of the other parts, I kind of don't like that. You know, like I think there's ways to tell the story that you can drop into the franchise
Right.
without, you know, it's like, just because you don't mention it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
agree.
doesn't mean sex.
I do
That's-
You know, like I know the big thing is like, oh well, this is a direct sequel to part 4 or a direct sequel to like the Fall of Camp Blood. We all watched it, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. And that's a direct sequel to part 4. I don't know if they want me spoiling this, but like, but it's a direct sequel to part 4. And I enjoyed it. But it's like, just a little tweak towards the end could have made it put back into the franchise, where they could have taken Jason's body with his head and actually put him back into the coffin. And then that would have continued part 6.
That's true.
Sure.
That is true.
Like there's just that little thing would have pleased more fans,
Sure.
you know? You know, and then you could have this like cool, like Friday 13th 4.5 movie, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then put it right back in the franchise. But it's like, I'm not a big fan of like ignoring things. And yeah, my film does take place sometime after part 7, I would say, but it doesn't dismiss any of the movies that came after that, really. This is just Jason has returned, and this is the story we're telling. You know, it's kind of like, I like to compare it to Godzilla again, in that sense, where it's like, well, it's time for Godzilla to come to shore and start stomping on buildings. Well, it's time for Jason to come back out of the lake and start doing what he does best. You know, like it's just that time, you know?
Right.
So there's no like, you know, I'm spoiling that. There's no resurrection sequence
All right,
where we
there's
bring
our
back-
exclusive.
That's your exclusive. You guys are the only people that know that. And now when this airs, people will know that. But we're 2 months away from premiering it, so I feel like, well, that's a safe thing to say. So,
I don't think that's given too much.
No, it's not.
no, and I'll spoil this too. Like, I feel I look at the movie again. Like, I like to leave it up to the fans' imagination of like when this movie could take place. I mean, it takes place in today, in present day, but like, I kind of look at it as like it's more towards the end of like, you know, Jason's life
Yeah.
in an end, you know, in a way, you know, more on the latter end. I mean, there could be definitely more that come after it, but you know, he's had it rough, you know, let me just say
have
that.
hair again?
What?
Does he have hair again?
No, he doesn't have hair.
Good.
He doesn't have hair.
I'm all right with that.
No, there's no hair.
Good.
There are, he is a little mossy, I must say. That's, you know, that's
Motherfucker should be
what I'll
spending
say.
most of his time in the water.
Yeah, you can't stay wet that long without having something grow on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And I hope you guys really dig, you know, our Jason look for this film. I think you will. I think a lot of people will like
I
it.
can't wait. I'd
Yeah,
love to see it.
I can't either.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds amazing. It
Yeah.
really does.
It's a different look than what we've seen too. Because we do a little bit of a mashup. So that's all I'll say, and I'll leave that up to your imagination.
Yeah. But
So,
I do like the different approach that I've been hearing that you're taking with this film. That it's more or less a child of some of the survivors of previous installments of the franchise, who's basically tired of his family living in fear and tired of being taught to fear, and more or less wants to return pretty well to disprove either his existence or him actually being around anymore, to kind of prove that there's nothing to fear anymore.
right.
And that's a pretty neat idea, and I don't think I've ever thought of that before.
Yeah, it's an idea that it's so weird how quickly that idea came to me. Because it was the first idea I had when trying to think of like, what can I do for a Friday the 13th film? Is like, well, if it's following a timeline, all these like survivors would definitely have kids at this point, and they would all be like 20 something years old or in their early 20s or whatever, you know? So I was kind of like, you know what, how would this affect people if like their parents went through what they went through and they were like overprotective and would make the kid paranoid because the kid doesn't understand the trauma that they went through. They say they understand, but they don't really know what they went through. So it's kind of an interesting idea where, and I didn't want him to, it's kind of interesting writing like a naive character as the main character is, because he thinks, oh, just me going to Camp Crystal Lake and proving that Jason doesn't exist anymore, this will help my parents. You know, like that Jason's been dead for years and he's not around anymore. All right, can you let it go now? Can I move on with my life? Am I free to like go places and do things that I want to do instead of you hovering over me like a, hovering parent? But like, I think it's kind of interesting to write a character like that because one side of the audience is going to be like, man, this kid is stupid for doing this because he's naive. He doesn't know any better. He doesn't realize, you're not, this isn't going to help your parents. And you're going about this the wrong way. You know, you should be like in therapy with your parents, kind of like discussing this and come to a mutual understanding. And, you know, there's the therapeutic way of handling things. Not going to Camp Crystal Lake and being like, look, see, it's beautiful here. Nothing's going on.
Yeah.
We're
Let's
all
take a
Yeah.
canoe.
Life
Oh,
is good. Yeah.
fuck a canoe. There's no way.
Yeah. What is
that's
that
already
bubbling
been-
from the lake? Is that a guppy? What is that? You know?
I
Fuck,
don't
fuck
know,
canoes,
man.
dude. That's been done twice and it ended bad both times.
Yeah.
Snapping turtles are crazy here.
Yeah.
He drowns somebody.
Instead, it's like the raft of the Creep Show 2, where the thing just follows them up. And,
The oil.
Spoiler, that's what really happens in Victim No More. There's no Jason. It's just a
It's just
big,
fucking
Yeah.
oil
big
slick.
black garbage thing.
Yeah. That's just to draw you in. It's really a homage
And
to
the
Creep
band-
Show.
I'd still
Creep Show
watch
2.
it.
It's
I would
it's really a Creep Show
watch
2
it.
segment sequel. Yeah.
sign me up. I'm still watching it.
Yeah, so I just thought that would be an interesting idea to you know, to explore.
Yeah,
I would say so, man.
absolutely. So are you in a second campaign for this, for the post-production stuff, or?
No, I'm not. We're almost done editing, actually. We're like on a super roll right now. And I'm hoping we'll be done editing by the end of, like, at least with a rough cut by the end of the month,
Mhm.
the end of June. You know, and we'll be ready for this August to premiere it. No, any of the money that's getting put into merchandise that I want to create to like sell at conventions, like beanies and t-shirts and pins and stuff like that, is coming out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with that, you know. So yeah, no second campaign. We're all finished. I think 30 grand was enough for this.
Nice.
But depending on the success of it, if there is a great response to the film, which I'm really hoping there will be, up there with, you know, the other great ones. Maybe not Never Hike Alone status, but I'd like to be up there with the Jason Rising,
Okay.
Voorhees, and Peter Anthony Productions. You know,
That's a
like,
good place to
That's,
be.
that's a good.
Yeah.
even if I'm like
good.
number 7,
There you go.
lucky number 7, I'd like to be in there somewhere.
Low ball.
We'll see. You know, like I said, it all depends on the fans and how, you know, picky the fans are. You know, if they absolutely hate it, then fine. And then I won't do a sequel. But the idea of a sequel has come up in the last month.
It's called Victims No More.
No, but you guys will appreciate this. Just in the past couple of months, I thought of, you know what? Maybe this isn't my one and only film project that I'll do. Because originally it was just going to be my one and only film project, but things happened where I like, you know what? The experience was great shooting last summer, and the people that I had contributing to the film and helping out were awesome friends to hang out with, and my cinematographer was amazing, and you know, we just had a great time. That I thought of 2 sequels that I would do to this, and it would be my own little trilogy of films, and that would be it for Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th tribute film on my part.
Right.
I would just want to do these 3 films, but it all depends on the response of the first one. Put it out there, see what happens. If the response is great, the sequel I'll start writing the sequel, which will be the longest of the 3. We'll probably have the biggest budget. And I would have to, like, you know, it would have to be well over 50K, you know,
Yeah.
for a budget. It would have to be that DeSanti kind of money, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be your
It would have to be that Never Hike Alone type of money to actually pull off, so I could properly pay everybody what they absolutely deserve.
Right.
Right.
But the idea for the sequel would be an anthology story. And it would be about certain characters from the first movie and certain characters from the Friday the 13th franchise overall, telling their stories, and they would all come together at the end.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and the working title right now is called Loose Ends, Victim No More 2. So
I got you.
Hell yeah.
and the third one, the idea I have for the third and final one is completely fucking bonkers, and I'm not ready to like come to grips with it. But I think the way it all comes together and ends, I think certain fans would absolutely love it.
So it's like your own acid trip part 8.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yes. And I'll spoil this for you too. It's a little bit of a Frankenstein story too, because of my love of the Frankenstein story.
Everybody needs to watch these movies so they can get made.
Yeah.
I need to see this.
Yeah, it's fucking the idea for the third one is wild. It'll have a completely different tone than the first movie. But again, the Friday the 13th franchise, the tone's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason X is a sci-fi comedy, you know, like
Very true.
Yeah.
so.
And I loved what you said about Jason X in a different interview that was basically their version of making Mecha Godzilla.
Yes,
That was
that's
really
exactly.
cool.
Yep.
That's absolutely how I feel.
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah, it's just Mecha Godzilla, you know.
Yeah.
And if they could have had, you know, well, in the comics they do that with regular Jason fighting Uber Jason. And I'm just like, yeah, that's just fucking Godzilla versus, you know, Mecha Godzilla.
That's right.
So, which I love those. So
Absolutely.
That's the one thing about it. Sci-fi and horror, you can do anything you want to
Anything you
with
want,
it,
yep.
and the fans will accept it.
yeah,
Most of the time.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, like I feel like even if the response isn't great for Victim No More, like I almost feel like I should try and make the sequel anyway. You know, like there's no, I mean, because just a few weeks ago when I was at that convention with Amy Steele, I really hit it off with Deborah Foreman. You know, Valley Girl, Waxwork, you know, all these movies, April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew about the project because there was a guy there who did soundtrack stuff for the movie, and he had to sign my poster that this thing back here. So she was like, "What is this Victim No More?" And she was like, "Give me that beanie." And so she was wearing a beanie. I'm sure you saw the pictures online.
I saw the pictures, yeah.
Yeah. So she was like, "I want to be in the sequel." I'm like, "Don't do this to me." Like, you know, like if there's a chance now to have Deborah Foreman as a character in the sequel, now I got to write the
You
sequel.
got to do it.
How do you not write
Yeah,
it?
now you got to do it.
How do I not write it?
Yeah.
Do it. Just do it. You'll be all right.
It's like, how do I fall into these positions? Okay, sure.
You're gonna get you. Well, we're glad you did because
And she lives in Jersey too, so it's like, how convenient.
it's done. It's sequel's coming out. You're
Yeah.
done. It's
Yeah.
game over.
I'm saving money on flights, and you know, good.
Yeah.
Game
Just-
over.
Just give her a GoPro for body cam footage. We'll do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Deborah Foreman will be part of the Friday the 13th franchise now. Yeah.
I'm shitting myself.
Bizarre.
No, you're good, man.
No problem. No problem. So, okay. So yeah, we just wanted to figure out how we could support you, how people could stay in touch with how the project is going, where they can get updates, that sort of thing. I mean, obviously we can follow you on Facebook.
Mhm. Victim
any
No
other
More on Facebook.
Mhm.
Make sure you look, you know, that you know it's Victim No More, the movie, because otherwise it might send you to like some survivor group
Right.
thing. Because I did notice there's a Victim No More.
Which might help
survivor.
somebody,
It might
but,
help somebody, but not him.
right.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because it's like, well, our film kind of like rides that line about survivors. You know,
Right.
it's kind of about it. So yeah, Facebook, Victim No More. Bobby Heckman, you could friend me on Facebook if you're a huge Friday the 13th fan. I don't mind. And Instagram, it's VNM_2020. When we were originally supposed to put it out, but COVID.
Well,
Yeah.
these things happen.
Exactly.
Well, it's just funny because I made so many of these posters. Like I have a huge stack of like 11 by 17 posters that say fall coming 2020, and it's like, well, 2 years.
Are you selling those? We might buy one.
Yeah, I know. Now they're collector's items, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, and I think I'm going to make more of them, and I'll probably sell them at the table for $5.
Autograph them and then send them to us, and we can sell them on eBay for $65.
Yeah. But when we premiere the movie, and it'll be on YouTube and Vimeo, and we have a website that is sort of under construction now. But by the time we premiere the movie, it'll be a full-fledged website where you could order beanies and t-shirts and everything from, and watch the movie too.
Yeah.
Just in case there's those YouTube problems where they like, oh, you used a piece of music that is copyrighted, and they take it down for a moment. And
Right.
it's like, I'd rather not deal with that. So it's like, all right, it'll be YouTube, Vimeo, which doesn't care what you do, and the website. So that's victimnomorefilm.com.
Victimnomorefilm.com.
Got it.
Yeah, but there's nothing really on it right now. There's some photos and stuff, but it's very early stage.
Any physical media like DVDs or such?
There'll be Blu-rays.
Okay.
We're doing the Blu-ray thing. All the contributors from the Indiegogo campaign, if they got that package, they'll be getting the Blu-rays. But the Blu-rays aren't going to come till after it's premiered. Probably a month or so. I don't want to say exactly when, because there's always issues. And we're also trying to figure out the template for making the Blu-ray and what features will be on there. And I have a guy that's doing a little behind the scenes doc that's going to be on there. And the guy's obsessed with documentaries, and he does a really good job. His name is Paul Zamorelli. He's an awesome guy. You can check him out on Facebook. He's called he's a VHS, like, huge collector. He actually runs the site vhscollector.com. Actually, if you watch, there's a documentary that he did on Friday 13th. I'm sorry, Facebook, it's The Analog Archivist. I've heard of it. YouTube and Facebook, and you can find him. But he did a documentary. It's on YouTube. You can find it, called "How New Line Cinema Destroyed the Friday 13th Franchise." Okay. He absolutely hates the New Line movies. So,
okay.
But it's well put together, and if you don't like anything past 8, you might really enjoy it. But me and him always get into it because I like I said, I like kind of all of them.
Yeah.
For one reason or another.
Yeah.
For the good and the bad.
Exactly.
But he's focused on doing the behind the scenes featurette for the Blu-ray. And I'm a big features fan, so I'm going to try to pack this thing with as many things that will fit on it.
Oh, yeah.
Commentary and interviews and stuff like that, so.
That's great.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and maybe when we do the actual premiere, we'll shoot a little behind the scenes thing of like reaction or something like that. And then get that onto it. Yeah. So yeah, Blu-ray. It's no DVD. No.
I don't think there's any point.
I feel like, I'm just not. If you could do Blu-ray and afford to do it, like, I don't understand why certain movies just put out DVD.
They look like total shit too. If you got like a 4K TV, they look awful.
Well, we all have high definition TVs now, so like the DVD quality is like less than when you stream the movie.
Yep.
you know, so it's like, I don't understand why you would own the DVD of it when you could just stream
It's a
it
legitimate
for free.
complaint
Or,
question.
yeah, like I just don't get it. Like, I don't want to knock 13 Fanboy. I enjoyed that movie, but it's only available on DVD. And it's like, and I don't know what kind of campaign they had, even if like Blu-rays were a thing that they were offering. Maybe it was just always DVD, but like, I was like, all right, well, that was pretty successful. Like all the Friday 13th fans dug it and everything. Why isn't there a Blu-ray of this?
Mhm.
And why is the DVD like not have any behind the scenes things? And you know, in my little film compared to that, I'm
Yeah.
willing to do that for. Like, I don't
Right.
know.
I got it. We got
Yeah.
you. Just don't
I
understand
don't
why you wouldn't do it.
Get that?
It is a weird decision.
That's the thing. We all make decisions.
That's right.
We're all picky fanboys. We got our
Speaking
own
of fuckers.
POVs. Picky motherfuckers. That's what we are. We're all a bunch of big dildos, aren't we?
Part 5. Love
I
it.
am.
Love
I
it.
am.
Part 5. Got a reference part.
Absolutely. Well, man, it has been a blast talking.
I don't know.
You are.
Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, you're one of a kind. Yeah,
We've kept you a
we've
while.
kept you a while, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, we're gonna.
Because I could always geek out about Friday 13th.
We got to save some for when we meet in person,
Okay.
and then we'll just throw you in the back of our car.
Yes, and when we meet in person, yes, when we get to the driving event, I'll show you guys some behind the scenes photos of shooting the movie that I won't post until after the movie's out. I'll give you some more spoilers
That'll be awesome.
because I could trust you, right?
Yeah,
No.
I
shit.
I won't be wearing photographic glasses or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't have any
That-
HoloLens or anything. Nobody's gonna say it.
Okay, all right. That's great. All right. Well, it was a pleasure doing this, guys, and I hope to do it again. And this is my final interview before the premiere. I hope you guys invite me back, maybe, and we can
Oh,
talk
you
about
can
everything
bet on that,
that
man.
you love
You
and
can-
hate.
100%.
1,000%.
And I want honesty. I want to hear like how much you hated the main character and how shitty Jason looked and what the fuck was that came out of the lake from Creepshow 2 and killed the guy? That didn't
Oh
even
my
make
God,
any
this is-
sense.
Oh my God.
All right, you got it.
You
It's
got
a
it.
deal.
We'll be honest. We'll be
deal.
honest. We
I
won't
want to
lie
hear
to
the
you.
love and the hate.
You got it.
Yeah. Or we'll just talk it up really well, and then we'll just do the dance of joy.
Yeah. There you go. That'll
Wait,
get everybody.
hold
That'll
on.
get everybody going. Oh shit. Here you got to pull
Happy,
it out.
make the dance of joy.
Dance of joy.
Die, die, die,
Love it. Love it.
die.
Oh, man.
Mahoney says goodbye too.
Holy
Oh
shit.
my God.
Sorry.
Jesus. Oh my God.
My little police academy figure.
Oh my God.
That shit was like in Kmart. They sold those in like Kmart and shit. That's fucking great. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Friday. We can't thank you
Okay.
enough. And sorry if we're choppy or whatever. I think it went great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a little choppy to it.
yeah. So next time will be much better,
Yes,
and we'll have plenty to say about your movie, I hope.
absolutely, brother. Have a good one, man.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
sir. Take care now.
Take care. I love you guys.
Love you too,
Talk to
brother.
you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.